Hello guys, my name is Binod. I'm here with Binod and you're watching Binod.
All right. I guess I'm Binod. Right. Welcome to what will be our first ever podcast, our inaugural podcast on the Cranky Frankly channel. My name is not
Yay.
actually Binod. It's Aniket, as you would have known from the first video, and that's my co-host Ishan. And this is our
Hello.
first ever video. Let's have some claps.
Boo. Our first ever podcast is about football since the lockdown. So just wanted to clarify that we're massive football fans and we think that most of our fan base follow football, know about football. So we just thought why not just talk about something we like. And speaking of something we like, I'm a huge Chelsea fan for a long time, for 6, 7 years. And so is Aniket, right?
Fam, no. Right, let me get this very clear, alright? This man, that's a fake fan, okay? He doesn't know any. He bought a Real Madrid jersey before buying a Chelsea jersey, okay? So I just want to get that really clear. I'm an Arsenal fan, always have been, my first big jersey was an Arsenal jersey, okay? So that man, he's a fake
Okay.
man, alright? But on a real, yeah, welcome to our first ever podcast. It's gonna be about football, and even if you don't know about football, stick on, because a lot of what we're gonna talk about is gonna be more casual and more discussion based. So you can participate.
Yeah.
And let me just introduce you
So,
guys onto the first topic of the day, which is the Premier League, the English Premier League, which is easily the league of football that me and Ishan have been watching for the longest and know the most about.
absolutely.
I mean,
Right.
we've known each other for about 5 years now, right? And throughout that whole
Yeah.
time, like half the stuff we talk about is this. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. We have
Yeah.
this whole group with two other friends of ours, Akshan and Rudresh, where we just talk about football, which is, take that as you will. But anyway, let's move on. I don't want to take too much time, and let's talk about the Premier League. And this year was really different for one obvious reason, which I can't say because we lose monetization. Not that we have any
That
monetization.
is if we get monetized.
Exactly.
Exactly.
um, but yeah, so that big thing happened. But that big break which happened is more important in the Premier League than any other league because this is a league of form. What had happened in 2015 2016, I'll let Ishan say.
Leicester won the Premier League, and
Exactly.
for some people who are just Ronaldo Messi fan, diehard fans, you wouldn't even know who Leicester City are. So the point I'm not trying to make is that even unknown teams, even teams you have not heard of, can shine bright. And
Exactly.
this season, another very small team won the Premier League somehow. No one's really sure how.
As jokes, obviously Liverpool won. But if some of the guys who don't watch football didn't get was that we were hinting that the Premier League is a lot about form. It's a lot about
Exactly.
who's winning will continue winning. So when you have a massive break that happens, it it throws form into a bin, right? It's like having a Premier League
Yeah.
Part 1 and a Premier League Part 2. And it was really like that, right?
Exactly.
I'll let you
And in
talk
this
about Liverpool.
podcast,
Yeah, go on.
yeah, in this podcast, we're kind of focusing on the second part, which is
Mm-hmm.
if you didn't realize it's after the lockdown, after the big break,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously it was pretty certain that Liverpool were going to win the league. They won it with 99 points, if I'm not wrong.
Yep.
And then second was Man City, and the rest of the table was pretty, you know, it was a very dynamic table. It kept changing in the middle
Mm-hmm.
of games, not in the middle of games, but
Yeah.
after match days, and then yeah. So in third place we had Manchester United, which nobody really rooted for because new manager who didn't really seem to get the best of players such
For
as
sure,
Paul
for sure.
Pogba, who they signed for 90 million pounds. Just reminding you guys. Um, but still, Manchester United came through with a huge second part of the season. They had Mason Greenwood, an 18-year-old scoring a lot of goals. They had Martial scoring a lot of goals. They had Rashford scoring a lot of goals. And obviously, they got some 722 penalties from Bruno Fernandes,
Yeah, man.
which helped him a lot.
I think for sure, for me at least, there were two teams that really, really personified this tale of two halves, which was United and Leicester. I mean, if we were looking before the lockdown, Leicester was quite far ahead of Chelsea, who were still fourth, and United, who were fifth back then. But they really fell
Yeah.
off.
Yeah, and as you were saying about form, that's what it's all about. So if you look at the squads of Manchester United and Chelsea, there's a lot of squad depth because they've been winning titles before. They had the money to invest in more players and get a better squad depth. They had a better youth system than Leicester, and that really paid off towards the end. Because Leicester City just recently won the Premier League. They don't have that historical background, which really led to their downfall. But still, finishing fifth isn't the worst considering Arsenal will finish in top six. Am I right?
I mean, yeah, that's true, that's true. But I think I would definitely like to speak a little bit about Arsenal before we move on to our next section. Because
Yeah, sure.
for
Go
me,
ahead.
as a fan, this might have been the best season that I've watched. The best second half of the season I've watched in three years, I think. Because Emery and Lundberg, and even the beginning of Arteta's reign, before the kind of December period, it wasn't great. It was looking really bad for us. We were, I think, 8th or 9th or 10th or something. Football was terrible. The players weren't playing anything. It was just bad. But after Arteta came,
All right.
and after he's come and after he's kind of instilled his philosophy into the team and really changed how things have been going on. I mean, this guy, he's focused so much on youngsters. I'm talking, Bukayo Saka, Reece Nelson, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, who may not be young, but he was definitely integrated into the squad. The big man Joe Willock. He integrated a lot of the youngsters in. He played a different brand of football than what Emery did. Not scared of changing how things were, being very confident, and more than anything, and I think this is something which is common with Mikel Arteta, with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and I think even Frank Lampard. He's part of this new breed of managers that work more on people management and motivating their players before they go into tactics and all of that.
Exactly. So if you talk about a very successful manager like Pep Guardiola, if you've seen him manage, you'd see that he's more tactically focused. He's talking about his inverted wing backs. He's talking about his wingers pushing inside and scoring goals. They're talking about box-to-box overload. So that's a lot of tactical stuff there. But if you look at teams like United, Chelsea, and Arsenal, as you were talking about, their managers are new to the game and they're just trying to have fun with the players. They want to make sure that the players are reaching the highest potential. They just want to play good football and score a lot of goals and obviously concede fewer goals.
And
And that's what they're aiming for.
especially at this level of the game and at these kind of clubs where Paul Pogba was, we thought he was gone. Before Solskjaer came, we
Yeah.
thought he was gone. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang at the end of the Emery reign, I thought he was gone. I thought, like I said, I thought the whole squad was gone. But Arteta came, Solskjaer came, and they've really motivated them into completely different beings, completely different players as well. But yeah, that's a little something on what is going on in the league. I think we'll be moving on to our next section, but what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about after lockdown how the league looked.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is really interesting and something that you wouldn't have expected. The third place team after lockdown, which means that the team that placed third on the table after lockdown, meaning in the whatever number of games that were played, who got the third most points,
Yeah.
was Southampton.
Oh,
Southampton.
mad.
Can you believe that? I mean that's out of nowhere. That's out of
Yeah.
left field. I mean that, and it speaks a lot about I think Hasenhüttl, right? Who manages
Yeah,
Southampton.
I'm not really sure.
I think it's
But maybe,
Hasenhüttl. Correct me if I'm wrong. But Hasenhüttl and how And I'm going to move on to our next slide because we're going to talk about one of their players. But how in January or just before January, this team had lost 9-0 to Leicester or 9-0 to somebody.
Yeah, 9-0 to Leicester.
Yeah, 9-0 to Leicester. They were like 19th. Any other club would have sacked Ralph Hasenhüttl by that time. Any other club. If it was Watford, the minute the game got over, he would have probably been thrown out. Right.
Exactly.
But he was kept on, and he really turned the ship around. And I think, and I might be biting my words come next year, but Southampton could be looking at a top 10 push next year. You know, with Wolves, with Burnley, I think there's a possibility. What do you say?
Yeah, definitely. And that depends on one big man, as you can see on the top goal scorers sheet or whatever. It's Danny Ings. He
Danny
managed to
Ings.
bag in 22 goals, which was more than just every other player apart from two. And if you just have a quickly look at his statistics, you can see in top goal scorers there's 34 or 35-year-old Jamie Vardy winning the Golden Boot, which was, I mean, to some extent it was shocking because you wouldn't expect a 35-year-old to
I think it's 23 or
to score
34,
the
yeah.
most number of goals. Yeah,
But
whatever.
still.
Yeah, and then you have, yeah, see.
I think it was really nice to see him win this Golden Boot as well, because for me and for you, we've been watching the league for a while. Ever since that Leicester winning season, he's been really consistent. He's been scoring 20 plus goals. But in the previous seasons, you've had... Yeah, go on.
That's why we owned this shirt for England. And normally with England, they're testing out younger players. You've seen a lot of young players popping in the squad. You've seen Mason Mount, Loftus-Cheek, and you'll see a lot more young players. But Jamie Vardy actually playing for England was also a huge thing, a huge achievement for himself.
And he's now a staple with Harry Kane's form dropping off. And you know, I'm purposefully not talking about Tottenham. You can talk about Tottenham, you can talk about this season. And yeah, technically they played better after the lockdown. But I personally am not excited by their style of play. I'm not excited by what's going on over there.
Mourinho.
I don't know. For me, Mourinho isn't something that's interesting. He's not part of football like he was before. I think he's gonna fall off. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, from winning a Champions League with Inter Milan to managing teams like Chelsea and United, he probably doubted his own abilities, and then he had a bad phase at United, especially where he had this whole argument and beef with Paul Pogba and then a few other players as well. So he was just not really.
That was so odd. Like how this man, he's a grown man, okay? Like he's like 50 something or 60 something. Why is he having beef or having problems with a 20-year-old and the way a 20-year-old leads their life? I mean, I don't know. I'm not excited by Tottenham. I think they're going to remain like 6th or 7th or wherever they were next year. Yeah. But why I was talking about Tottenham was Harry Kane, of course, this year not being in the top goal scorers because he was injured for quite a while. Somebody who did peak in was last year's Golden Boot winner, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Now, nothing to say here. You know, I will be honest. He is above Arsenal as a player. I'm not gonna lie. He's above Arsenal because he's, you know, very cool-headed. Even last year when we were, you know, throughout the whole year, right? Throughout the whole of this year, in the beginning when we were terrible, he was still scoring goals. At the end when we were good, he was still scoring goals. He just scores goals. It's just what he does, right? He's 31 now. So the clock's ticking. Maybe he goes this season, maybe he doesn't. I hope he doesn't. But goal scoring is one thing, and that's great. But I think there was a statistic which was a bit more interesting than goal scoring this year. With a certain KDB. Ishan?
Oh, most assists of the Premier League. So normally football fans will just look at who scores the most goals, but most assists is also something to be considered because Kevin De Bruyne had an unbelievable season with 16 assists this season and over 10 goals, I believe. So huge season for Kevin De Bruyne. So if you just don't see De Bruyne in the top goal scorers, you'd probably think that he's not having a good season. He's just alright. He's getting a few goals. But if you look at the assist, Kevin De Bruyne is probably the god of assisting. And you would have, I mean, there was a few memes circulating as well about De Bruyne and his wife, but we won't go into that. And apart from De Bruyne, Apart from De Bruyne, we had the Liverpool fullbacks actually
Mm-hmm.
getting on the assist sheet. We had Trent Alexander-Arnold, obviously the probably the best right back in world football right now,
And if you
with
told me
12
that,
assists.
if you told me that 4 years ago, 3 years ago, I would be laughing like, no way. But this guy, he has come so. He, in my mind, yes, Virgil van Dijk, great player. Mo Salah, great player. Sadio Mane, great player. That's great, that's great. But the player that Klopp has had the most influence over and that fits most into Klopp's system, I think, is Mr. TAA. Because for a fullback to have 12 assists, who's technically playing winger but also defending, I mean, it's just a whole different thing, you know. And the most interesting thing is both of these players, Kevin De Bruyne and Trent Alexander-Arnold, were for me and for you the top two players of the season. But one of them was much better than the other one, and that was
Kevin De Bruyne,
yeah.
purely because let's have a breakdown of Liverpool really quickly. We have quality players such as Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mane in the wings who are they're just guaranteed to get about 10, 15 goals every season.
Mm-hmm.
You have a not very strong midfield to be very honest right now, but they have a very
But they
hard-working
don't need a
midfield
strong
to say the
midfield.
least.
Exactly that. They just need a
They just need
hard-working
players who are
midfield.
running around the
Mm.
pitch. You have Wijnaldum running around. You have Henderson with the passion, with the leadership as a captain, and he actually won the Writers' Player of the Year, which was
Mm.
another interesting take. But we argue with that. We think that De Bruyne has had a better season because Man City they sort of dropped down. They've been competing with Liverpool for the past 2 seasons, I believe now,
Mm-hmm.
and this season they almost slipped it in the beginning, but towards the end you saw Kevin De Bruyne. He was the heart of the midfield. He was carrying Man City, and he was just getting assists left, right, and center.
I mean, if you take De Bruyne out of the City team, is there anybody else that
Exactly.
can really capture the vision that he has, or capture the eye for the game, or the tact? That guy has some kind of algorithm running through his brain, okay? Because he's next level clever. I think okay,
Yeah.
Gundogan for sure. He has some ability to create plays, but I don't think he's anywhere close to Kevin De Bruyne. I don't think there's anybody in world football that's close to Kevin De Bruyne right now. And don't mock me. I will say Mesut Ozil in that season when he got like the most assists, right? No, not now. Shut up, okay? Because
Okay.
he
Go on.
reminds he
Go
reminds me
on.
so much of him. But Kevin De Bruyne is better because Kevin De Bruyne has got that goal scoring instinct too. It's just
Exactly.
what a player!
So
What a player!
So enough of Kevin De Bruyne. Oh, we love Kevin De Bruyne, best player. Let's move on from that. We'll also talk about the player who shook us the most this season, just someone who we really didn't expect to perform, and that was Mason Greenwood, an 18-year-old winger for United.
I
And
didn't
he's
know who he
not the
was.
only,
I didn't know who
yeah,
he
he's
was
not
before
the
the season.
only teenager to step up for United in the past few years.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
again, interesting.
but this guy, like, who, where, what? Huh? Where did he come from? What? I had no idea who he was till like till like late of last year. Like
But
yeah, go on.
to be fair, for Manchester United fans, if looking at your academy players, you've seen Greenwood perform well in academy games. I saw this clip where Greenwood basically had two free kicks in a single game, and then he scored both the free kicks, one with the left foot and one with the right foot. And I was just shook there itself. I'm like, how is this man going to score with both of his feet from a free kick and then step up to the Premier League? He's going to get 10 goals a season, and at the tender age of 18, so he still has some good 13, 14 more years to develop himself as a star at Manchester United. So yeah, big expectations from Greenwood.
I mean,
And anything else you want to add?
maybe United fans saw him coming, like in the same way you see certain Chelsea
Hmm.
academy players. I see someone like Emil Smith Rowe coming through,
Yeah.
but for anybody outside of that United circle of fans, this was really different to see a guy like him. It was a reincarnation of Rashford almost, but I think definitely
Hmm.
better than what Rashford was when he was 18.
Yeah, for sure.
But
Moving on,
mhm.
we're going to be talking about the team that also shook us the most, and that was Sheffield United. And again, for some people who don't follow football that much, you may not know of how Sheffield performed this season, but They were actually contesting for a Europa League spot before the lockdown because they were running in such a good form. They had players scoring a lot of goals. They had a very tight defensive system. They even won against Chelsea, if I'm not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And Sheffield United really had a great season before the lockdown. And like I'd explained for Leicester City, they just don't have the squad depth. They don't have the finance to actually get fitness all over during the lockdown period. They didn't have the ability to sort of come back and then still be in the same form. So that really led to a downfall towards the end of the season. But still, overall, we look at Sheffield United. It was probably the biggest shocker for us, at least.
You mentioned Leicester City there because they would definitely be the other contenders for shocking team of the season. But
Yeah,
Leicester
for sure.
City already had a squad that most people around the around the kind of area around the Premier League football knew that these guys could creep into the top 8, could maybe creep into the top 6 if Arsenal have a bad season, right? So there were expectations in the same way there were expectations for Wolves. Okay, nobody expected them to go above and beyond, but remember Sheffield were promoted this year and everybody thought that they were going to go back. They were going to be the first ones to go back. Norwich had a better style of football. That's what everybody used to think. Now they don't. Aston Villa had a better overall squad, and they spent the most as well. If I'm not wrong, I think £140 million. So Sheffield were like bound to go down, and then they come and they do this. Like
Yeah, unbelievable.
this was like that Bournemouth season when Bournemouth came. But I think enough about the Premier League. Let's move on to
Yeah.
what I want to talk about. The FA Cup. Let's go. Yeah, I mean, usually the FA Cup doesn't matter. And I think it wouldn't have mattered if both our teams weren't in the finals. But they were. And, on your
But I
screen.
just want to
Yeah.
stop you right there. Just give me a second. You talk about the journey to the finals, but let's just have a quick look at what were the fixtures that led to the final. You had Norwich versus United in the quarterfinals, easy win for United.
Mm-hmm.
Sheffield versus Arsenal. We've spoken great about Sheffield, but realistically, if you look on paper, you're going to see Arsenal winning, and that's exactly what happened.
Especially
Then you
with the
had
squad
City
depth.
versus Newcastle. Exactly. Then you had City versus Newcastle. And again, easy win for City. And then you had Leicester versus Chelsea. And you need to remember at this point, Leicester and Chelsea were competing for a Champions League spot at this period of time. They were competing for the third place, the fourth place. And it was a really tough match. Chelsea came through with a 1-0 win. And then we faced United in the semi-finals. We beat United as well. So
I think
we built a lot of momentum during this period. Yeah.
before you go on to the semi-finals, it was really a fairy tale. This 2-1 win that we had over Sheffield. By no means was it convincing. This was at the time when we had lost to Brighton and we had lost to Southampton, if I'm not incorrect. The lockdown, I mean, not lockdown, the whole thing had just been over and the Premier League had restarted. And Arsenal began that new Premier League era by losing against Brighton, then losing against City, and all the fans were in disarray. Everybody wanted to, just abandon the club, abandon ship. But then this game, which wasn't convincing, which was again Aubameyang carrying us, this changed the whole restart for us. Like this was a big game. And then obviously we can talk about the semi-finals, which you can talk about United first, but I think we know which one's the bigger semi-final.
Yeah, so United Chelsea. I had a few United friends to watch the game with me, and it was really interesting to watch Chelsea come through. But I don't have a very good memory, so I don't remember much of the match. But I do remember United being down to 10 men, and then they just had a bad game. We had, I think, Eric Bailly or someone heavily injured, so it was an iffy game. It wasn't an easy win to say the least, but United again. Bruno Fernandes got his 712th penalty in that game to score his goal,
No, but
and he can
most
carry on
people.
with City and Arsenal.
No, just before that, I think you're downplaying Chelsea's achievement here because United. Most people had United for this game because United's form after in the restart was just really good. Like if you look at the
Yeah,
numbers, this was the third best club in England at that point of time. So to beat them 3-1, I think it was quite a big feat by a Chelsea team that a lot of people thought was breaking down. But yeah, we move on to Arsenal City, and I think nobody expected this. Arsenal fans didn't expect this. City fans definitely didn't expect this, and none of the neutrals either.
They had fans.
Yeah, good point. But this was not a game where Arsenal played well. This was a game where City played badly, which was something that you'll see later on in this as well. City made two mistakes throughout the whole game, and Arsenal capitalized on both of them, which was really good to see. But it was very unlike City. So I think City had their focus somewhere else on a certain other competition at this point of time. So that was what it was, and it came on to the final, which was Arsenal versus Chelsea, not for the first time.
Yeah, so basically, Arsenal have been in the FA Cup finals for 21 times, for those of you who didn't know. And
Oh,
this was their 14th FA Cup win. Yeah, and most people wouldn't know that because we've done our research. But anyway, it was still quite shocking for Arsenal to win. I mean, if you have a bad overall season and you just get a trophy out of nowhere, it's just going to help your team's morale. It's going to help your players get motivated and perform even better next season. But we're not going to go into the philosophy of motivation. Let's talk about what happened in the finals, the events. So obviously, Chelsea scored in the 6th minute of the game, and I was over the moon. I was like, "Oh my God, we're going to win a title for now." Lampard, best season ever, best manager ever. And then Aubameyang scores two goals out of nowhere. Chelsea go down to 10 men. Chelsea get a few injuries, and yeah, that's it. That's game over.
No, but I
But
think I
it
think
wasn't that simple.
yeah, exactly. Especially as an Arsenal fan, we saw Pulisic score the goal, but for the first time in a long time, we weren't distraught after letting in a goal. And this was something that we saw in the City game, the Liverpool game that we won as well at the end of the season. This is a new Arsenal. This Arsenal, when it goes down, is not going to go down. And it came right back. And for sure, there were some controversial decisions in the game. And for sure, Pulisic getting injured did help this team. But let's not forget, Aubameyang's first goal was a fair goal. Aubameyang's second goal, oh my God, what a goal. Right? Hector Bellerin running in from the right, and then a team goal, and then Aubameyang, doing
Don't need
Kurt
to remind
Zuma.
me. I don't care. Doing toxic listening to this.
But it was.
Yeah, sure.
Um,
You can get
we can
credit
talk
for
about
that.
the controversial moments for sure, and I listen to you, but I think it was an Arsenal deserved win, and I
Yeah,
think we worked
so
for it.
yeah, now let's get into the controversial moment.
You're
So
so hyped
I
to
want to
get
hear
into
your
it.
take on this one. Yeah. Martinez handball.
Okay, so
Emiliano
yeah,
Martinez.
yeah. I saw I saw a video on it. He was just on the line, which it didn't look like. It didn't look
Bro.
like it didn't. No, I'll be honest. When I watched the game, I was like, sure, game over now. He's just given a penalty, but he was on the line apparently, which is I don't know what VAR is what angle it's looking
VR is
from.
a joke.
Yeah, for real. But we're not here to talk about that. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was apparently on the line, but I don't know. Coach's red card. I'm gonna say it straight up. No, that wasn't a red card. That wasn't a yellow card. Was the foul? The second one. That was
Thank
that was
you.
really bad. Terrible refereeing. I mean, I can't even believe somebody can give a decision like that. That was stupid.
And then, I mean, this is just for me as a Chelsea fan. I wanted to put in that Nicolas Pepe was diving so much, and it was getting frustrating at a point because, I mean, this from your perspective, I can understand that. Yeah, he's trying to hold the ball, he's trying to create chances, but if you're losing 2-1 with 10 men, which is completely undeserved in my perspective, and then you see a man who's just wasting time, he's just doing fancy skills in the middle of nowhere, it's just really annoying. Just
So
wanted to point that out.
I've watched him for this whole season, right? And I genuinely believe he's weak enough to fall after every challenge. He's a very frail player. This guy. He's not Adama Traore.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get it. He was skilling a lot. Skilling. What a word. Uh, he was doing a lot of skills for sure, but he was confident and I liked it. I don't think he was diving, but I can see how he was. I'm not gonna argue for that. Injuries, yeah, Azpilicueta and
Yeah, I
Pulisic,
just want to
and
say,
yeah, go on, please.
Azpilicueta, the one good defender we have, gets injured, and
Yeah,
obviously captain Azpilicueta, we play with 5 defenders, out of which one of them is working hard. That's Azpilicueta, and then he gets injured in the first half itself. And
yeah.
at that point itself, I was like, Arsenal have equalized now in the first half. I didn't have a good second half to look for. Then even Kovacic got sent off. So really, just didn't enjoy the second half of the game.
We
But
all feel bad for
fair play to
Aspe.
Arsenal.
I think everybody likes
Yeah.
Aspe, and he's one of the guys who's been in the league for a long time now. He's been in the Chelsea system for a long time. It was sad to see. It was sad to see Pedro go down at the end on a stretcher. I don't know what that was about. It looked really scary, but
Yeah, that was horrifying to watch. But
yeah.
yeah,
But just to
can't say
sum it
much
up,
about that.
Arsenal won their 14th
Mm-hmm.
title. Arsenal won their 14th title. Arsenal's better than Chelsea. Arsenal's the best team in the league. Thank you.
Okay, it's time to move on to a competition that Arsenal don't play in.
All right. Okay, fine.
We're going to be talking really quickly about the Champions League.
All right.
And yeah, let's just get straight to the Champions League. Enough of the English teams. We're talking about the whole world here, the whole of Europe. To be
Irrelevant
specific.
competition.
But
Irrelevant.
yeah, and then if you look at the fixtures since the start, we recently had 4 games, which were second legs of the round of 16. We had Man City winning against Madrid, which was probably the biggest game here.
We beat
Because
Man City, so we can technically beat Madrid. Like, just saying.
If you want, if you agree with that logic, please leave a like on the video. Anyway, yeah, let's get serious here. Talking about Champions League football here, so you can
Bruh,
keep your
come
mouth.
on, man.
Anyway, the fixture that I felt the worst for, except the Chelsea game, we'll not talk about that, but Juventus just not going through because you see Ronaldo, he just carried Juventus the whole season. We'll talk about Juventus in detail as well, but just looking at Champions League, Ronaldo scored 2 goals and just the penalty that they gave away in the beginning, I think Depay scored to
So talk me
score
through
for
this.
Leon.
Talk me through this. So for obvious reasons that I don't need to mention, that somebody's been mentioning continuously, don't watch the Champions League anymore. I have no need to watch the Champions League. Maybe I'll watch it next season. But Lyon, they look a bit out of place out of these guys. Like Atlanta and Lyon, and I know why Atlanta is here. Everybody knows the story of Atlanta. We'll get onto that. Why is Lyon here? Like, who are the players that are helping this team out?
Leon, they've got a few additions to the team. I think they've got a new striker called Dembele, he hasn't had the best of seasons, but another French striker. He's fast, he's strong. He's played well for Celtics, I believe, in the Scottish League. And
I remember that.
He's someone who's experienced in scoring goals, and that experience of scoring goals and getting wins really helped Leon. You have players like Memphis Depay, who's transformed completely after his transfer from Manchester United. So Leon has become more of a hardworking team rather than just having one good individual player, which was the case for Juventus, where they just had Ronaldo, who was expected to carry the weight of Juventus to actually help them reach somewhere in the Champions League. And unfortunately, Ronaldo is getting older. You can't see the best of Ronaldo now. He did score 2 goals, which was incredible at still this age. You wouldn't expect any other top quality striker to do that, but still it wasn't enough apparently, and Juventus have fallen down. They won't be continuing in the Champions.
So before we go on to the Barca Napoli game, I think credit to Rudy Garcia then for what he's done at Lyon. To get over Sarri
For sure.
and a very good team, right? Who's the midfielder? The
Barcelona. It was 1-1 in the first leg, and Barcelona, again, we'll talk about them in detail, but they haven't had a huge season. They haven't. It's one of the poorest seasons, in fact, for them. Yeah, they just straight up had a bad season. And in this game specifically, we saw Messi actually turn up his gears. You saw Messi, and you can just see the difference between the rest of Barcelona, and you can see the difference between them and Messi, because Messi scored 2 goals in this game. He won them a penalty. He was just left, right, and center, moving with the ball, having fun, enjoying the game, and most importantly, winning for Barcelona to make sure that they go through to the quarterfinals. So again, big win for Barcelona, and much deserved in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think it's really interesting to see that out of all the teams that could have been in this round of 16, there were 3 Italian teams, 3 teams from the Serie A. You wouldn't expect that, would you? I mean, there were 3 Spanish teams too. There's 3 Spanish teams too, I get that, but I mean, they've come a long way, Serie A, and they play a very exciting brand of football over there as well. If you're new to football, I'd encourage you watching some of their games. Definitely watching some of the teams like Atalanta. But yeah, I just want to say that
Yeah.
that's really interesting. But do you want to talk about the next fixture?
Yeah, so I'll just say one sentence. Bayern won 4-1 over Chelsea, 7-1 aggregate. Let's move on.
No. I think we have to speak. Okay, what I'll do
I
is
mean,
I won't speak about Chelsea being bad, but Bayern being just.
yeah,
I think
that's fair.
I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it because anytime I say it, I jinx it. But could it be their season?
Maybe. I mean,
Out of the
I mean,
teams,
before they win the finals, they have Barcelona in the quarterfinals. So that's the game that I'm gonna watch. That's
but this
the game
isn't
that everyone's gonna
Barcelona.
watch.
This isn't the Barcelona we know, right? It's just
Hmm.
Messi and friends versus a fully
I mean,
functioning Hansi Flick team.
yeah, if you recall from the last Champions League final that these two teams played in, we saw
Mm-hmm.
Jerome Boateng get absolutely destroyed by Messi. And
Yeah.
you can still see that Messi, even at that stage, was carrying Barcelona, but still he had support of, I believe Xavi was playing back then. He had Iniesta in the midfield. You had a bunch of quality players, Sergio Busquets, Rakitic in the midfield to actually support Messi, to actually make sure that Barcelona are playing good football. It's not just Messi carrying them, but at this point of time, I believe that Bayern is going to go through because just because of the overall squad, they've got quality in each and every position in
For
the
sure,
field.
for sure. I think Barcelona and City are in two quite similar positions right now, where this competition is the be all end all, really. For these two teams and their fan bases, they have to win this for both those teams. But Atlanta versus Paris, I think this year, Atlanta has played a brand of football which is just wow. I mean, I've never seen that much attacking in one team ever in my life. But they're playing against PSG, and that's a PSG that people say City versus Paris is the oil classico, and there's a reason for that. I mean, you can talk on PSG if you want. Barcelona Bayern, I think we think Bayern's going to go through. Atlanta Paris, however good Atlanta might be, I think Paris goes through. RB Leipzig versus Madrid. What do you think? Atletico Madrid, that is.
For sure. Yeah.
What do you think?
Especially
Who goes
since
through?
especially since Leipzig lost Timo Werner. Timo Werner joined
Oh
Chelsea, for
yes,
those
yeah,
of you
yeah,
who don't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So yeah, Leipzig don't stand a chance against Madrid for me.
So I think we have Madrid going there, and City versus Lyon. I mean, we're gonna go with the obvious choices here. City, right? It's just Pep
Yeah, for
Guardiola
sure. I
with
mean,
yeah,
fair
go
play to
on.
Leon, but City's just gonna win.
Yeah, I mean,
Just something you can't stop.
it's like a $500 million team. Anyway, going to statistics, and as you can see, there's a certain player from a certain team that's appearing like thrice over here, which is Lewandowski, top goal scorer, top most assists, player of the season in our mind. I mean, 17 goals and assists. I mean, this guy, he has been rampant. And I think there's no argument for any other player being better than him, right?
I mean, we have the likes of Erling Haaland, who we believe is the shocking player of the season, purely because, again, just unheard of before the season at least. And bagging in 10 Champions League goals, he played against Liverpool as well and scored in that game. And getting a lot of goals and still getting a transfer to Borussia Dortmund and sort of carrying the forms, carrying the pressure, and at the tender age of 19 as well. So it's not like Haaland is an experienced striker. He's a young player. He's just started getting experience, and to still be at such a high level is a great achievement, and that's why we believe he's the shocking player of the season. But not taking anything away from Lewandowski, definitely the player of the season. 17 goals and assists. I mean, it's pretty obvious that Lewandowski should
Yeah, for
be. Am I
sure.
right?
For sure, for sure. I mean, that guy just. We'll go on to something later, which just kind of says how good he's been. Interesting to see Di Maria over there. PSG, am I not wrong? Yeah, I mean, I didn't
Yeah,
expect
of
him to
course.
be playing well. Shocking team of the season, Atlanta. We've spoken about them. We've spoken about the brand of football they're playing, and we've spoken why it's surprising that they're here. They're not supposed to be here. Let's get that very clear. But their management
For
and their
sure.
whole team and their whole system is just really popping off right now, and I wish them all the best in their game against Paris. So we move
moving
on.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say. We'll just get into more detail for Lewandowski at least, or for Bayern Munich.
Oh, just
Let's just
before,
have a look
right?
at the table.
Just before. So for the leagues that we're going to speak about right now, I just want to be clear with everybody
Oh
that
yeah,
me and Ishan are not experts. We won't be
yeah, for
talking much
sure.
about these leagues and what's been going on because we don't watch them very actively. The Premier League is quite a big league to follow in itself, and I follow the Championship as well. So that's a whole league. Ishan watches European competition, so we won't know much, so we won't talk much.
Yeah, so we're just gonna speak from the statistics, and as you can see here, Bayern Munich, well expected win, and 82 points this season. This was probably the best Bundesliga win, if I'm not wrong. We did see a bit of Dortmund catching up with them early in the season, where you had Haaland, not early in the season, sorry, late in the season, you had Haaland getting the goals. You had Jadon Sancho being consistent throughout the season, who was a key part for Dortmund. But still, they were nowhere close to Bayern Munich, who just had the season of all seasons, basically, their best season ever, in my opinion. And then again, you have a few other unexpected clubs, you would say. You have Red Bull Leipzig coming in at third place
Well,
with
that's
Timo Werner
expected now.
hitting a lot of goals.
I think I just want to
At this
say
point,
something.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah. I just want to say, of course, Warner's gone, which is let's see how that affects the team. Meaning, I think they only have Yusuf Poulsen now, but Leipzig and the whole system, being Leipzig being a team that was bought out by Red Bull, they weren't actually a team, and they skipped a league and all of that. Okay, it may not be authentic football, but at the end of the day, they've spent the money correctly, and they've now stapled themselves as a third in the Bundesliga, the Atletico Madrid of the Bundesliga, I'd like to say.
Well said. And rest of the season, you can see Mönchengladbach. Hopefully, I said it correctly. But Borussia Mönchengladbach coming fourth, and again, good season for them. Just 1 point off Leipzig,
Which
and
is very
these
good.
four teams qualify for Champions League. Yeah,
Yeah. I think Hoffenheim really weighs behind Leverkusen and Mönchengladbach. Gladbach, sorry. But yeah,
whatever.
exactly. We're going to move on to the stats here because there's one guy that we have to speak. Look at that! 34 goals by one player in one season. Lewandowski, and I think
And I just want to, yeah, sorry to interrupt, but Bundesliga, unlike the other teams, there's only 18 teams in the
exactly
Bundesliga,
36 games.
unlike
That's
other leagues having 20. Yeah, so
34
34
games.
games, and
Yeah.
Lewandowski scored 34 goals, which is 1 goal per game.
A goal per game is
Unbelievable stuff.
unheard in football. Let me just get that clear for anybody who doesn't watch football. A goal per game is not normal. Messi and Ronaldo are the only ones that come close to it. It's ridiculous. This man, they stripped him of a Ballon d'Or, which we'll get on to later. But let's move on to
Yeah.
another statistic. 21 assists in one season.
And Thomas Muller, and before the season began, I know a certain friend of mine who is a Bayern Munich fan, but he believes that he's a goalkeeper fan basically. Won't talk much about him, but basically every Bayern Munich fan weren't expecting the best of Thomas Muller. You saw him win the World Cup in 2014, and then you saw him win a lot of trophies. But then after a period of time, his career got saturated. He got a little bit slower, a little bit unfit, and just not expecting him. But then here he is with 21 assists, so huge for Muller. He gained confidence. He proved to his manager why he's the best player to play for Bayern Munich here. Obviously after Lewandowski, but again Muller is also one more thing I wanted to point about him is how versatile he is. So we've seen Muller play as a number 9 striker. We've seen him play in the right wing a few times. We've seen him play as an attacking midfielder, a central midfielder. So if you have the quality of Thomas Muller in your team, then you're destined to get 20 plus assists a season.
Just even more compliments for Muller. Last 2 seasons, he's really transformed himself from what Ishan said, from what was an out and out striker, into playing the cam role, playing the striker role, playing all these different roles, and just providing for his team, becoming a team player, which is just fantastic. Jadon Sancho, obviously 16 assists. He did it last year, I mean something similar last year, and he's just a really quality player. I think all of us are watching our clocks and watching our news to see when United swoops up for him. They're saying that they won't.
They won't, but okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I hope they won't because this guy looks really scary. Player of the season, no justification required. This guy,
Yeah, we
yeah,
don't need to talk more about that. Robert Lewandowski. And the shocking player of the season, again, a player who is unheard of, the Canadian man himself, Alphonso Davies, playing in that left back for Bayern. So, anything you want to talk about Davies, Aniket?
I I thought he was Austrian. I got confused with Alaba.
That's Alaba.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
This whole season, I think he's just shone through as another bright light of a team that just produces good wingbacks. Philip Lahm,
Hmm.
Alaba, that
Kimmich.
yeah, that was the other guy, Kimmich. I mean, again, they just provide and they provide us with this guy, and he's so fast, and every single FIFA team is gonna have him. I mean, uh,
Yeah.
just so solid.
Sweaty guy.
Yeah, just so solid. This guy. I mean, there's nothing to say.
Well, apart from Davies, we also believe that Mönchengladbach was the team that shook us the most in the season, getting Champions League football with a good goal difference this season, just 1 point off Leipzig, as I said before. So yeah, definitely didn't expect Mönchengladbach to step up so well. And they have a striker called Thuram who has an interesting celebration. I don't know if you've noticed it, but if you watch him play, he's just a fun striker to watch. So again, if you're someone who doesn't watch football that much, if you watch Mönchengladbach play, maybe you'll enjoy their style of football. It's a little bit more interesting. The strikers are pressing high up the pitch, and they're getting a good amount of goals for it. They're getting good amount of wins for it. And yeah, the team that shook us the most.
For sure, for sure. And I think that's about it for the Bundesliga. But I think we're gonna move on to La Liga right now.
And as you can see in the photo, we have a certain man who is looking too happy to win the La Liga. Obviously, the elephant in the room, Gareth Bale. So before we talk about Bale, let's just have a look at the table first. So yeah, most of you who actually enjoy La Liga, I know there's a lot of people who enjoy La Liga because of Messi and Ronaldo, the battle in the past, but
Mm.
that's just something in the past. And ever since Ronaldo left, I thought Barcelona were guaranteed to win the La Liga, but this is just interesting. This is just shocking for me, absolutely. Real Madrid winning La Liga over Barcelona for I think the second or third time in this decade. And interesting, really interesting. We had Benzema really step up his game from what people criticized him for not being good enough to play for France, for him not being able to score goals on his own. He's just shut down all of his criticism to prove to be one of the best strikers in the league, as well as a few other players who had stepped up. We're not talk about Eden Hazard because he didn't step up.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
Sergio Ramos at centre back. Yeah, anything you want to say?
yeah, no, I think I'll let you finish Sergio Ramos because that's a whole story.
Yeah, Sergio Ramos again, another inspiration. I mean, we both play defenders in
Mm-hmm.
real life football, if you guys didn't know. So again, getting involved in I think 8 goals. He scored a free kick in the season. He scored penalties. He scored goals. He defended well. He led the team to a title, and it's just inspirational to watch.
I think for the longest time, Real Madrid has meant Cristiano Ronaldo, but now the definition is changing to
Hmm.
Sergio Ramos.
Yeah.
But I really agree with what you said. I think it's a really solid point that all of us expected Barcelona to run away with it now after Ronaldo left. Because Ronaldo's Ronaldo, you know, whatever you might say, however much you might support Messi, Ronaldo was a really influential player. And we expected Barcelona to run away, but. And Messi is still playing good, let's not forget this. But the
Yeah, we will
management.
get into Messi stuff.
Yeah, but the
Yeah.
management of the Blaugrana, I'm not sure how to say it, but the management at Barcelona, at the La Masia, is just terrible. It's just bad. They keep on buying old players. This year, the author for Pjanic. What?
Hmm.
What logic is going behind
I
that? I mean,
mean, ridiculous.
it's stupid now. I think Bartomeu, who's their chairman, he needs to look inside. He needs to look at a mirror and be like, bro, what am I doing? Because this is not the Barcelona we know. Barcelona is supposed to be an imperial force that defeats anything that's in its path. This isn't it. As for the rest of the league, you can look at it. I mean, Atletico third. Atletico have been third. Sevilla, they've been coming up for the last 3-4 years, and they were again at Atletico's tail. I think Mr. Simeone, um, is the clock running out? Is the time running out for him?
Well, in my opinion, I still think that I would compare Simeone to Pochettino from Spurs actually,
Mm-hmm.
because both of these managers, they have a very good system. They play exciting football, but they don't come away with trophies. It's not the team that you'd expect to win a competition. And more, I personally believe that it's more about the journey than actually winning the feat or something.
Mm-hmm.
So Atletico Madrid, they've had very consistent seasons. They've got probably the best defense in the world, for me at least. They concede very few goals. They've got a solid goalkeeper. And this season, again, in the La Liga, they haven't outperformed themselves from the past. They haven't outperformed other teams, but still they're alive in the Champions League, and I think it's still you can still see a future with Simeone at Madrid.
Maybe I'm
So
being
not
harsh.
yet, but
Maybe I'm being harsh, but
yeah.
they did lose Antoine Griezmann, who by the way did nothing at Barcelona.
Hmm.
But they did lose who was their talisman, and they still kept up third. And they stopped a Sevilla team which is rampant, under Lopetegui. Is that his name? The manager?
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
It's the Sevilla team's really solid. So yeah, maybe I'm being a bit harsh on Simeone, but I want to see Atletico really gun for Barcelona now. I hope they make a few
Hmm.
signings this summer, and I hope because Barcelona needs a waking up call right now. Um,
Exactly.
Sociedad, we'll talk about some of their players. One player in particular who I'm really happy with, which you'll see later. But wait, Sociedad or Villarreal? I'm forgetting.
Villarreal.
Sorry, Villarreal. Villarreal. Sociedad had somebody else, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, as you gave a disclaimer, we're not fans of this league. We don't know
Yeah,
much, but
yeah.
let's talk about something that we know, that is the statistics.
Yes.
And as you can see in the top goal scorers, Lionel Messi 25, Benzema 21. The two players who we said were exceptional this season. But something that's really interesting for me is the assists. So I've already mentioned how important assists are in the game, and Lionel Messi coming through with 21 assists, which was the most in the league alongside Thomas Muller. And in La Liga, there was no one who's anywhere near Lionel Messi. He had 21 this season. The next player had about 11 assists. So just another level Messi is playing on, and he broke another record this season for getting 20 plus goals and assists each. So again, even though Barcelona are going through this horrible period, you won't see there's still a lot to expect from Messi. He's still gonna carry them.
It's a cause and effect. Barcelona are
Yeah.
going through this troubled time, and Messi has to carry them, and he's taking that workload upon himself. I just feel bad for the guy. I honestly do. I think he
Hmm.
deserves much more. I mean, the quality of player he is. We don't watch Messi for the individual seasons. We watch him because we want him to win trophies, and I hope they get back to where they were. You said the second highest assists was 11, and it was by a certain player that is my favorite player that I've ever watched, which is Santi Cazorla. I mean, just a lot of joy in watching this guy coming back. I think he scored a few goals as well this season. But he.
And actually, I want to, yeah, sorry to interrupt, but for those of you who don't actually follow Arsenal or who don't know about Santi
Mhm.
Cazorla, he was an exceptional player for Arsenal. He wasn't the best player on paper. He didn't get the goals, the assists. He was like obviously under a shadow
No, I
from
mean,
Mesut Ozil during that time.
in my opinion,
Yeah.
so Cazorla was bogged down by injuries, just injuries constantly,
Hmm.
constantly.
Yeah.
I think he
Injuries.
had the potential, but every single time he got running, he got his boots on, he started getting assists, he just got some random injury. So to finally see him play a full season after so long in La Liga, it's just it's just one of those wholesome moments. I'm just happy. He's a nice guy as well.
Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good.
Moving on, the team that shook us the most this season was Sevilla, coming through with 70 points, and they're really catching up with Atletico Madrid. So again, an interesting take here. We've seen Barcelona and Madrid dominate La Liga for seasons after season, and now we have Atletico Madrid almost slipping up in a way in La Liga. They almost finished fourth this season. Obviously, on goal difference they were above, but Sevilla really are catching up. They've got quality players left, right, and center, and hoping the best from them in the future.
It's like La Liga 1.0 and 2.0. I'm going to move
Yeah,
on
let's move on.
to Serie A.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a beautiful man's picture there, a certain beautiful man who you don't like.
smiling for the first time.
Yeah, and not with, never mind. Should I go on to the table?
Yeah, let's just again Syria. We don't follow it much,
Yeah.
but there was a lot of interesting stuff there. Let's just look at the table really quickly. We have Juventus just winning the title on 1 point, and had they had the same number of points, you would have seen Inter Milan win the title with 12 a better goal difference in them by 12 goals. So, anything you want to talk about Inter Milan versus Juventus this
Yeah,
season?
100%. Juventus should have been way further ahead. I think that's clear for anybody, any neutral. Juventus was not supposed to be in this dogfight. Inter Milan. I know they only lost like 7 times in the season, but Inter Milan lost 4 times, right? Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Maybe you were good at one point in time in the Serie A, but this just wasn't it. And Conte, yeah, great work at Inter Milan. I don't know how to judge the Serie A, to be honest with you. I don't consider
Okay,
it.
so wait, I'll just quickly mention something else as well. You were talking about Sari and how he's not been the man this season, and he's been sacked and replaced by a certain gem of
Yeah.
certain legend from Juventus. Obviously, talking about Andre Pirlo. And again, I'm expecting much from this guy purely because, firstly, he's working with a team like Juventus. You've got Ronaldo in your team. What more do you need? You still got Dybala. You got good defenders, experienced defenders, good goalkeeper.
Am I correct in
good
saying
players
that
overall.
Pirlo might be one of the players that me and you both think are was like really good?
Obviously, I mean, even the stats prove that you've seen Pirlo play. He's a World Cup winner. He's a champion of a man. And as a manager, I would expect him to sort of perform as a Frank Lampard or an Arteta in that case as well, because you see these three managers have played in the midfield. They know how football works. They're experienced in the field, obviously, and they thought I want to see Juventus sort of bring out youth in the system. They've obviously relied a lot on their experienced players, especially in the defense.
for sure.
But with Delict getting a chance at Juventus, with more and more young players, it'll be more exciting football for Juventus, and definitely a better chance for them to increase the gap between their first position and the second position.
Well, I'm at the opposite
And
end.
apart,
I mean,
Okay,
I am
yeah,
actually not optimistic at all about Juventus. Pirlo hasn't had any experience. I know he was a great footballer and he had a great eye for the game, but I don't know how that translates into managerial expertise. I know he was a captain, so he's good with people, but I don't know what that means. In a league where Antonio Conte has an informed Lukaku and informed bunch of players in his hand, where Atalanta are just playing a different breed of attacking football, the largest goal difference in their league, I think. Lazio as
yeah,
well, catching up. I'm not as optimistic as you, I'll be honest. I think Juventus might fall.
yeah. Serie A has been increasingly competitive with, again, as you had mentioned, Atalanta and Lazio with a ton of goals this season. They're just playing all out attacking football. They may concede a few goals, but then again, you see the quality of their strikers and how motivated they are to get in there, press the defenders, and score a few goals. And that's the beautiful football. That's the beautiful game that we talk about. Just how interesting it gets when the teams that you don't expect to be on top. You see Atalanta having a breakout season. Obviously, they're still alive in the Champions League. They're still third, and they'll be playing Champions League next season. So really interesting in Serie A. You see the pioneers of Serie A, the all-time winners. You see AS Roma and AC Milan in fifth and sixth respectively.
Yeah.
I mean, they've just fallen off really.
Milan
It's a
especially
long
is just
story.
gone. Yeah. I'm going to move on to stats.
So I guess we can move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can talk about it, I think.
Yeah, so top goal scorers. We talk about Lewandowski getting 34 goals out of 34 goals, but we don't talk about Ciro Immobile getting 36 goals, getting the Golden Boot in Europe. And I mean, obviously, there's a reason why people don't respect Immobile as much, because I think he scored some 16 or 17 penalties this season, which is again, it's debatable. Even if you remove the penalties, he gets over 20 goals,
Mm-hmm.
which is less than Ronaldo. But the point that I'm trying to prove is that Ciro Immobile, apart from just being a goal-scoring machine, getting 36 goals, he actually helped Lazio get a Champions League spot this season, and they're facing a lot of competition this year.
Mm.
We have seen Lazio perform well in the past. They had few good players like Felipe Anderson and Milinkovic Savic. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah,
pronounce it right,
that's
but
it.
Lazio have been good, and Immobile for sure, top goal scorer. We had Ronaldo, obviously 31 goals, great season. We have spoken about Ronaldo in this podcast, so we'll move on
Yeah.
from that to the top assists. And you want to say anything about that, Aniket?
I just want to say, I've followed Immobile at least his career for about last 3-4 years, and he's constantly been 30 goals plus. He is somewhat of a Serie A hallmark striker, and it's just great to see him finding his footing after a tough spell at Borussia Dortmund back then. But
Mm-hmm.
interesting to see in most assists, Andre Gomez, right, who is a AC Milan player.
Alejandro Gomez from
Oh, of
this
course.
Atlanta,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Oh,
the
that's my bad.
Argentinian,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The other Gomez got destroyed. Sorry.
yeah.
But yeah, Alejandro Gomez, the creative influence of the Atlanta team, he's facilitating for those strikers who are running ahead and facilitating for a system which is
Mhm.
just so different. But nothing much to say. Luis Alberto over there as well. But, we don't know much about these
Yeah,
guys. We know about Immobile. Shocking player of the season,
and
Theo Hernandez.
yeah, yeah. So I want to talk about Theo Hernandez particularly because if you look at the table, if you can see, is AC Milan in sixth place. So obviously they haven't had the best of seasons, and they haven't had a good season in years now. But this man, Theo Hernandez, is a new signing, a 22-year-old French left back. So obviously you get a good new player, you get excited. But this man completely changed AC Milan in the first half of the season. You saw him getting a lot of goals. He was at one point the top goal scorer as a defender, which was
Wow.
unbelievable. Then he got a few assists. He's been good defensively. He's overall, I would say, he's carrying the load at AC Milan. You wouldn't see their strikers do much really. They did have a good run. I believe their strikers are Pacueto and some other guy. I forgot, but
Hmm.
exactly the point is that
We shouldn't be
they're not
forgetting them,
they're
right?
not
Like, if they were good, we shouldn't be forgetting them. That's the thing. It's AC
exactly that's
Milan.
the point I'm making.
So it's stupid. But great play from Theo Hernandez. I think just before we end this video, Syria might get the Cranky Frankly league of this year. I mean, you know what I mean, right? Just a really good league to watch.
Yeah, just the
Like,
most interesting one.
if you want to watch highlights, just watch these guys. Just watch Atlanta. Honestly, it's just fun. But Ballon d'Or is the last conversation topic that we have. We talked about it a little bit during the video. It's Leo Messi, KDB, Lewandowski, and Ronaldo. I think for me, I know that maybe Ronaldo didn't have the season that we expected from him, but just to see that consistency at the age that he's at was just great. But he's not really in this conversation. It's about the goal scoring machine in Lewandowski. It's about the creative influence of KDB, and it's about Lionel Messi doing both of those things.
True,
But
true, very true.
yeah, this is our Ballon d'Or, so we don't care what you say. I'm kidding. We'll have a discussion here, but whatever you guys think, let us know in the comments about who you think the Ballon d'Or should win, and about any of the points throughout the video. But what
Yeah.
about you, Vishan? Who do you think deserves this fictional award?
So I'd agree with you that Ronaldo hasn't been Ronaldo this year. He hasn't scored the goals. He hasn't won a Champions League. He's won Serie A, which is good. But if I were to rank the four of these, because I wouldn't expect anyone else to win the Ballon d'Or about these four, but out of these four, I would probably give the Ballon d'Or to Lewandowski.
Mm-hmm.
And for good reasons. We've seen they've won Bundesliga with a record number of points. We've seen Lewandowski scoring in each and every game, almost statistically at least. And you've seen Lewandowski just carrying the weight of Bayern Munich. You can't really replace a man like Lewandowski. Like if you look at Madrid, they haven't really replaced someone like Ronaldo. They've improved in other positions for sure with Benzema and with Ramos, but he's just someone who is irreplaceable for me. And the most exciting thing about Lewandowski is that he's won the Bundesliga and he's most likely to win the Champions League as well for me.
That's
So
what
I
I
know
was
it's a
gonna
bit
say.
too early to judge. Yeah,
I
I
was
know
gonna
it's a bit
say,
too early
yeah.
to judge.
I would.
And apart from Lewandowski, I believe that Messi would come second because again,
Okay.
20 plus goals and assists, and then I would say De Bruyne. What do you
So,
think?
alright, that you threw me off. I thought KDB would be second.
Ooh.
So I think Leo Messi's had a great season this year, for sure. Um, and I think it depends on how you define the Ballon d'Or. If you define the Ballon d'Or as the most valuable player, Leo Messi would win it 100%, because if you take Leo Messi out of Barcelona, that team falls off compared to if you take any of the
Exactly.
other teams, other players out. But I don't define it as that, in my opinion. I feel that the Ballon d'Or is just the most, just the best player in the league, and the player who makes his team become the best team in the league as well. Which might be a tough concept to understand, but that's how I feel about it. I don't think it's the most valuable player. And for that reason, my conversation does not include Leo Messi. It's between KDB and Robert Lewandowski. And in my opinion, until unless KDB has a really convincing quarterfinal, semi-final, and final and wins the Champions League, uh, I don't see how it doesn't go to Lewandowski. Good. I think me and Nishan have had a lot of fun recording this. There were a lot of hitches in the recording as well, so it's longer than the video length that you see. But yeah, it's been really good to talk about this and talk about it in a casual way. Me forgetting that Alejandro Gomez is the player that had 16 assists, and forgetting that my supposed favorite player in the whole world doesn't play for Real Sociedad. But that's just what we are. It's a casual conversation. It's not about being statistically correct. Ishan's not gonna like beat me up if I say the KDB shot percentage was an 84.5. It's just a casual conversation. We're here to talk. But I'll hand it over to my guy.
And yeah, so yeah, again, thanks for watching. We really appreciate you watching an hour of us just saying random stuff, really. But again, it's just something we were interested to do, and we would really like it if you could comment in the comment section who you think would either win the Ballon d'Or or who you think should have been Player of the Season in either of the leagues. It really matters to us if you comment something because it motivates us to work harder. But apart from that, yeah, we've had a good time here,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully you liked it. Please leave a like, please subscribe, and follow us on Instagram too
Mm-hmm.
at Cranky Frankly Podcast.
And don't get discouraged, the non-football fans. This is not the only type of video we'll be making. You'll see next week and in the coming weeks that it's a variety of topics. But yeah, peace out. Thank you guys.